Hey everybody, welcome back. So a tale of two trucks continues. I've got a few spare minutes today, so I think what I'm going to do is work on doors and door panels. I'll show you here. Never mind that ignition chime. I have the key in there for a reason. But yeah, we'll get all these tan panels swapped around, and as long as we're in there, here, let me just pop it to accessory mode. Watch that window over there. It's just slow and grinds. Same with this side. That should move a lot faster than it does. They both should. So as long as we have everything apart, Old Blue's power windows, power window motors and regulators are nice and crisp. The ones in Big Red, I think, have just had too much heat or maybe too many cycles up and down. I don't know, but as long as panels are off, let's get in and I'll see what it's going to take to make these windows lively, shall we? So let's get started. I'm going to have to peel the rest of these off of here one of these days too. Okay, let's not get distracted. We're going to start with the rear doors because these are just so easy to do. We can get these panels changed really fast. There's nothing in here I need to swap over. So to start, you need to unhinge the wing window latch right here. You can see it's just a snap and a pivot. Okay, get those to the open position, and then two Phillips head screws, one there, take both of those out. And with that, we'll just let that hinge just pivot right out of the way. So next we take, once again, our trim tool, and there's an upper panel and a lower panel. The upper panel has to come off first, so we'll just get behind it and begin disengaging the clips like that. And we should be able to pop the rest by hand. Just like that. You can see just various metal snap clips like have been on all the other panels so far. Take our little pick tool here. So to begin, we have a plastic rivet on that outer corner, a plastic rivet on this outer corner. Take my little pick tool and depress the center. That should snap in. There we go, just like that. Do the same thing to the other one. Now we carefully get behind the head and pry it out. These are reusable if you don't break them. Oh, there we go. This one tried taking off on me. So that's what you've got. And to reuse these things, what you got to do is take that plastic center, push it back through like that so that the head's sticking out. And when you put this in the hole again, there's three tabs right there will go in the hole. And then when it's seated, you take and press that center portion back flush. And what it does is it flares those three tabs out and just kind of holds that thing tight in the hole. So that's how those things work. If you don't break them, like I said, they are highly reusable. So next we have this 7mm head screw here, comes out, and the one right next to it. With the four fasteners out, you just lift straight up and it disengages because this is on hooks. Okay, no snaps here. So that's all you need to do. That's how simple it is to remove the panels from a rear door. I'll do the same thing for the other door, and we'll start putting these back together. Okay, you look way over there. You can see the tan panels are now on Old Blue's doors. So here are the gray panels from Old Blue. And these are so easy, you don't even have to take your ratchet straps out of your mat pockets to do that swap. You can leave all that stuff right in place, right? So yeah, we got the hooks on the back here. So we just want to align those with the slots in the door frame. Engage them and slide down. Let's make sure our weather strip looks good. Yes, it does, all the way down. So let's just start with the plastic push pins because we can do that without even having to pick up a tool. Push the center back flush. Here's the other one. There's those. Okay, finished tightening the last of the 7mm head screws, so lower panel is installed. Let's do the upper part now. So once again, we have the snaps on here, and I'll try and do this one-handed. So a comment section last time, a couple guys said, you need to use a head rig or a chest rig. No, I've got both of those, and yeah, they free my hands up, but the problem is Well, okay, come on, stop talking here. All right, there we go. I got it aligned. I like dart my head around so fast and not even realize it that the video never turns out. It's just too jerky. And B, with a chest rig, I'll be working here, but the camera will be pointed here. So that just never quite works out either. So I just do the best I can with one hand. So make sure we get all these clips started. Watch the weather strip over here because it likes to curl back in behind. There we go. Again, we'll uncurl it. There it is, seated all the way around. And finish up by securing the window latch. Test the operation. It's all good. So, rear door's done. That's all there is to it. Now for the front doors, and honestly these panels are even easier than the back because these are just one piece. So to get going, we need to detach this black piece of trim at the top that just snaps off. We'll get the trim tool once again. So let's take the window switch bezel off, and what you want to do is pry under it at the front because there's a snap at the front. Do not pry under it at the back because there's a tab that goes beneath this door handle here. So if you pry at the back, you'll break that. So just get under it and straight up like that. And you see we have that snap right there at the front, and it pivots and lifts up. There's that tab at the back. So that's what you would break at the back. So 3 connectors on this one. The passenger side door does not have this connector that I'm undoing right now because that's for the power mirrors. So window master switch. This is kind of fun with one hand again, but we'll get it. Now we have the door lock switch. Like I said, 2 hands are a lot smoother. Here we go. Window switch bezel is off. So next thing we do is take our pick tool. We have this as a reflector lens, and there's a little tab you depress right there, and it comes out because we have a tab on the back where it hooks. You see this is a light socket and it's open. Some of the early builds actually had a little light bulb in there. By 03 they did away with that. So we'll take the 7mm socket, and there's one screw in that cavity where we just pulled the deflector lens off of. Take that screw out of there. We have one more 7mm head screw right up here beneath where the window and power door lock switch bezel was. Take that one off. Okay, now this panel is just on hooks as well. So we lift straight up and it detaches from the door. Literally that easy. Probably the simplest door panel Ford Motor Company ever made to remove. Now at this point, if we were only changing door panels, I could start putting the panels out of old glue back on, but I want to get in there and change out the power window motor and probably grease up the regulator tracks unless something else looks bad. So to do that, we need to pull this sound deadening mat off of the door, and it looks like from the way we're kind of pulled and crumpled here, and we're kind of torn right there, and we're already slit behind the door lock rod. Somebody's had this loose before, so it's probably not going to be stuck that hard. No, because there is some adhesive that goes around the perimeter, and if they've been peeled off once, they usually don't stick that hard. So we'll just have to work all the way around this thing, get it removed. Get the harness out of there. Okay, and I see someone has put the speaker on just over part of this mat, so that's no big deal. 4 screws hold that on. That's a 5.5mm. So we'll pop those out real quick. Just get the speaker right out of our way. Two-pin connector, and speaker's out. There, we've opened up the door. So to work on that window motor, I'll show you what I do here. We're going to need the master switch hooked back up. So there we are. And key in the ignition, put it in accessory. So what we want to do is just pop that window down just enough to take the bind off of it, okay? Key out, stop that noise. So here's the window motor right here. You can see the heavy wire 2-pin connector feeding it, and 2 ways to get that out. The right and proper way would be to lower the glass down to about here so that you could unbolt. There's a 10mm nut on a glued bracket on each end of that glass. You would roll it down so you can gain access to them. Remove those 10mm, manually put the window back up, wedge it with something against a weather strip to hold it, or tape it up, either way. And then you would remove the entire regulator with the motor attached by loosening this nut. You can see it's got this larger hole where you could loosen all these and slide them to the side, and the nut would pass through that hole. But you loosen this nut, loosen this one, and loosen this bolt, and that bolt, and that bolt. And you might also even have to loosen this bolt right here and then slide that window track. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But with all that stuff loosened up, you can slide the regulator scissor mechanism and the motor drive assembly out of those holes and then get it out of the door. The simplest way to do this that I'm going to do, being that I think my scissor mechanism, my regulator is good, you can also go through and you see there's a 8mm head bolt there, and there. Those 3 bolts just hold the motor to that entire mechanism. That's all I'm taking out. And with all 3 bolts out, electrical connector disconnected, the window motor comes out. You can see the old factory grease still on the gear drive end. So this is not in the manual. This is kind of flat rate world here, but I've found that on these trucks, the majority of the time, usually, not every time, usually, the regulator scissor mechanism has enough friction to it when the window is the majority of the way up that you can pull that drive motor off and nothing comes crashing down. If you're nervous, like cut a piece of wood, like an old 2x4, to just set in here and come up and just wedge against the bottom of the window. I'm not too worried about this. I've kind of tested it already. We're good. So, and through the magic of editing, here's our minty fresh motor out of Old Blue. So yeah, some fresh grease smeared around that drive. So you have to kind of work by feel here, but you can get that drive gear re-engaged with the regulator right there, and we're lucky everything lined right up. So if those teeth would have been like half off, what I would have had to do is probably just like kick the key back to accessory and then just bump that window switch button just to move that star drive or that gear drive a little bit so that it can come around and engage. But we got lucky and everything just lined right in. So we'll put those 3 bolts back in it and get that part wrapped up. There we are. Bolts back. Reconnect it. So yeah, we should be done with the power window part. But you know, as long as we're here, oh man, you hear that out on the Hinckley sub? Old Swagger wants to be on that train. Anyway, stay focused. So as long as we're here, we got the door panel off. Oh, that train horn. So anyway, focus. So these mirrors on Big Red are quite sun-baked, so the ones on Old Blue are a lot better. And you know, we've got all the pieces off already just to swap those. All we need to do is peel this little strip right here, take this plug out, take this plug out. You got a nut on a stud there, there, and there. So those 4 points right there, and then the harness for the electrical parts of the mirror comes out. The connector is here. Stick that in through the door, straighten it out. There's number 4. Even though the mirror is a little bit askew, it will hold itself in place right there because the studs are still through the door frame. So disengage it, carefully pull it out because that harness is going to have to come out of there. Look at that. All right, let's take the one off that blue truck. All right, here's Old Blue's mirror. Not really minty, but still slightly better. So one-handed, this might be a trick. Cheating a little bit, got the camera hand helping out. All right, feed the harness down in, line Align the studs, let it hang and bind. It'll stay there because those holes are recessed so far. Start the nut in the socket and start it on the stud. And repeat until the mirror is attached to the door. Now for the mirror harness, what you want to make sure not to do is to wrap it around the back side of that window track, because if you do that, the window will come down, snag it, and it'll rip it right out of there. I did that one time, honest, not even kidding you. That window motor's strong enough, it'll rip it right apart. So make sure you go over the top of it, all right? Stick it through a hole in the door, connect it up, make sure the routing is good, yep. So, rubber plug back, rubber plug back, little sound strip back. We're finished with the mirror. It's time to start putting the door panel back on. We should be finished in here, so put the sound mat back up, make sure we get the harness pulled through. There we are. Next thing we do is reconnect the speaker. Okay. Put the screws back in for that, all four. There we are, door panel next. So, pretty simple. Like I said before, we have the hooks. So I just kind of hang the bottom there, and what we want to do is make sure we feed those connectors up through that opening right there. And then the only other thing we need to look at is to make sure the lock plunger starts in through that hole. All right, so slide down, make sure we're tight all the way around. Good, good. Yep. Top 7mm bolt in, got the bottom 7mm bolt in. Those are both good. Take our reflector, hook it inside, click it right there. Take our window switch bezel, so again, one-handed. See how this works out. Door lock connector good. Master window switch connector good. Power mirror switch connector good. Hook it at the back, snap it at the front. Upper trim piece should be the final component. It's all back together. Okay, so for the wrap up, everything's gray inside of Big Red now except for the dash. We can't stall any longer. That's going to be the next project. It could get to be a little bit involved as well, because while the dash is out, that's the perfect time to route all my snowplow wiring through the firewall up there. And that might also include headlights out, grill out, because that wiring's not segmented. I'd had to do the whole thing at once. You know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? So close this one up, and we've got old blue put back together as well. All the tan is in this, so we can close him up. And that concludes another installment. Yeah, there's not much really that has to be done with these doors. It's pretty quick to get into them, pretty easy to fix everything that's in there, so, and just as quick to put it back together. So hope to see you guys back for the dash swap. That's probably going to be an entire weekend's project in itself. I'm not sure when I'll get to it, but we'll do it. Thanks for watching, everybody.